Good morning. What's up, guys? I just woke up. Can you tell? This is a morning muse. I keep seeing the archangels in my mind's eye. What's the message? I was going to tell. Spirit wants me to talk about my house. Peace. Archangel Chamuel. Peace comes from remembering that only love is real. So, you want to hear how my house got stolen from me? For real. So about 15 years ago, there was a big housing bubble that kept... And then it finally popped. So this is during that time. I had a house, my house, the first house I ever bought, and it was in a really desirable neighborhood in South Minneapolis called Nokomis. I lived at 4941 Nokomis. Let's hear. I'm going to Google it. Now, when I bought the house, it was 100-year-old little house. And let's see. And I bought it for $109,000. So let's just look right now. The estimate for that house, it's a different house now. I just Googled it. Now that property is worth $605,000. So here's how that property got stolen from me. I had not an adjustable rate mortgage. I had a fixed rate mortgage. And this Spirit wants me to say this because this might be helping somebody. It might resonate with someone. And what happened was a bunch of scammy mortgage companies were stealing properties. And so all of a sudden, I got a letter in the mail. I was never late on my mortgage, nothing. That your adjustable rate mortgage time is over. And now your mortgage is going to double. Your house payment now is double. I said, hold up, I do not have an adjustable rate mortgage. I called my mortgage company. We sold your mortgage. You have a new mortgage company. I tried calling the new mortgage company. No answer. I tried calling like hundreds of times. I got through once. It was a heavily accented person who had really no interest in helping me. They will have a manager call me back. Call again. We sold your mortgage. It's a different mortgage company. I was like, what in the fuck? What do we do? They kept selling the mortgage. That's what mortgage companies did. I don't know. That's what they do, I guess. Sell off the debt from one bank to another and just, now here's your new mortgage company. Now here's your new mortgage company. That's what all these scammy mortgage companies were doing back then. And then refusing to work with the people and saying, you had an adjustable rate. No, I did not. Then all of a sudden, in 2 months, I now owe double the house payment twice. Now they're going to put it into foreclosure. What? I lived there for 9 years, never missed a house payment, ever. My dad was trying to short sale it real quick. He was trying to help me with the mortgage companies. There was a house flipper that my dad had worked out some deal with, and they were going to come look at the house. And so now, I wasn't living at the house. I had, my daughter was a toddler. I was not married to her dad. And her dad, who also works in mortgage, said, Obama is doing an $8,000 tax break or something like that for first-time home buyers. You have bought a house, I haven't. We're not married. And I can buy this house, a new house, and it'll cost the same amount as this little house. I'm like, let's do it. So we ended up getting this house that I live in while I was still trying to sell off the Nokomis house, while we were trying to get a hold of the Nokomis realist like mortgage companies. So my dad worked out the thing with the house flipper. I remember it was at night. We drove out there, and it was a frigid, cold Minnesota winter. And we had all the utilities still on the Nokomis house. And so the heat was on, water was on, all of that was on. We didn't like abandon the house. And my daughter's father was getting her out of the car, and I went up to the house to unlock it. And the house had a porch on it. And I went in the porch, and I could feel the energy was really weird. And then I unlocked the door, and I opened it up, and this hot, moist air hit me in the face. And all of a sudden I looked, in my little house, a water pipe had broke. The bathroom was upstairs. It was so cold, the pipe broke. And I had no idea how long it was broken for, because it had flooded up the whole top of the house, collapsed the floor into the living room. There was a waterfall of water just coming down. I opened the door to that. And I backed out into the cold again, and that hot, wet air out into the cold hit me, and I felt like my lungs were just razor blades. I started hyperventilating. There was a whole waterfall, and the ceiling had completely collapsed in my house. Right then, the house flipper came, pulled up. I went running out. I couldn't talk because I was hyperventilating. And the house flipper and my baby father, okay, your father, oh father, like that. My baby daddy ran in there. My daughter's father was just stunned and stood there. And the house flipper was like, Mike, where's the water main? Where's the water main for the house? And then Mike snapped out of it. He's like, in the basement. And I still had all of my stuff, like my precious stuff, my stuff from my childhood, all my dancing shoes, my dancing pictures, everything from my childhood, my graduation diploma, all my special things were in a couple of boxes that I stored in the basement. The basement, which was it had half concrete, half old school dirt floor. So the water could have seeped into the dirt floor, but it was so cold. It had like this much standing water at the time. And then while they were trying to get the main off, it kept going. Everything I had completely destroyed. That's the first time I lost all my, the second time I lost all my stuff. They turned off the water main, came sloshing around. The house flipper basically said, good luck, and he took off. Never heard from him again. I called the insurance company. They said, don't touch a single thing until we send an insurance person out. I said, there's water everywhere. Don't touch it till we send an insurance person out. Well, they didn't get an insurance person out for a couple of weeks, however long it was. When I went through the door with the insurance person, all the wood floors had completely buckled up now because they said you can't touch anything. The insurance lady was a huge bitch. She was going around. I had to prove that we still had the heat on and obviously we had the water on, all this kind of stuff. She finally said, all right, I have decided this is not fraud, and I will issue a check for the house, but I'm going to issue it to you and the mortgage company. Yeah, the mortgage company that I can't get a hold of, and will be a different mortgage company next week. So she issued the check, which I was unable to deposit cash or anything. That's how they do it. They issue it in 2 names. Then I came back to this house. I live in this house. All of a sudden, I get a call from a harassing, psychotic debt collector. Your house has gone into foreclosure. I said, yeah, you guys got the house. What am I supposed to do? You still owe the debt on the house. You owe us. We bought your debt. You now owe us $110,000. And I will call you every day until you pay me back that money. This dude was a psycho. He would call me every day. I was like, you can't get the house and the money. Both. I told my dad what was going on. My dad knew what was going on. And this debt collector kept harassing me. He would keep me on the phone until he made me cry, and then he'd laugh. So my dad, this is where people need to listen up. An attorney general might mean something. In Minnesota, every state has a state attorney general. Ours was Lori Swanson. Now, an attorney general is a lawyer's office that represents the people of Minnesota. And my dad said, I'm calling the attorney general. And he found Lori Swanson's office number, and he called it. He didn't talk to Lori. He talked to a man that worked for her team, who was very, very helpful, very kind, and said, this is a mortgage scam that people are doing to steal high value properties. We will write up a letter with our seal on the letter, and we will send it to that debt collector who is harassing your daughter, and tell them never to talk to her ever again. That's all we can do free of charge for you. But we hope that you will go forward with a lawsuit, because they did steal your house. It was a common scam that was going on at the time. I had just had my daughter. We were living paycheck to paycheck. I did not have the funds for a lawyer to track down a mortgage company that's constantly dipping out. So I washed my hands of it. I started my new life here in Ridgefield with full knowledge that my Nokomis house was stolen from me. I remember going back to the Nokomis house one last time. There was some stuff in the porch that I wanted. It was traumatic for me to go in the house because it was so damaged. And I went back and I opened the door and somebody had already gotten in the house. And this is the creepy part. There was a pair of my underwear in the middle of the room. Black underwear with red and pink hearts on it. I just saw that and I just walked out of the house again. I went to the backyard and this dude was coming into the yard. And I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I'm here to check out that shed. There's going to be an auction. And I'm just seeing if I can peek in the shed and see if there's anything in it." I'm like, and I was at the shed because I was taking off the lock on the shed because that lock was a lock that I had had for a combination lock that I had had forever. And I wanted my lock. And I said, "I'm going to take the lock off the shed right now, dude. You want to look in it? There's nothing in there." And I took the lock off the shed. I opened it up. He looked in. He's like, "You just saved me so much money. Thanks for showing me." And I took the lock and I went home and I never went back. The collector, the debt collector, called me one last time. This dude was, I think sometimes people who work in debt collecting are sadistic. Some people are nice, but a lot of people enjoy bullying people. And I didn't default. So he called me one last time and he said, "You're not legally obliged to pay this, but you're morally obliged." I said, "Don't ever call me again." I hung up on him. And that's how my house at 4941 Nokomis got stolen from me. So what they did was they tore down the house and built a great big house on the property. They called them at the time McMansions, where rich people would go into highly desirable areas in the city, tear down a house that's been there 100 years and build this big giant house. So on my old street, if you turn down the street, it'll go, my neighbor's house, my neighbor's house, my neighbor's house, McMansion, my old property, neighbor's house. The first time I saw the McMansion, so here we go. There's my neighbor's house. McMansion. There's my other neighbor's house. I remember sending a message to them saying, oh my God, I saw the new house. And my neighbor responded back, we're going to miss seeing the sun. That's how off that house is in the neighborhood. That house is worth $605,000. They stole $500,000 from me. Let's just think about that. I don't know if the current owner knows anything about that, anything like that. I'm trying to see if there's the past history. Yeah, look at this. (12/1/1998). Sold for $50,000. That's not true. 7/7/2010. Listed for sale. $47,900. That's after they stole it from me. 8/10/2010. Sold for $55,000. Now it's worth $600 and however many $1,000. Look at 8/10/2010. 7/7/2011. Listed for sale. $428,000. That's a new house. Price change. $397. 2018 listed for sale, $449. 2 months later, they sold it for $472. Now it's worth $650, or however much it was, $605. Either way, they stole $500,000 from me. Now, they didn't steal $500,000 from me because this is a bigger house that they built on that property. So there is a lot of money in that house. But that's a highly desired neighborhood in South Minneapolis. Right down the street is Minnehaha Creek. 2 blocks the other way is Lake Nokomis. That's how I got my house stolen from me. With the help of Lori Swanson's, the Attorney General's office, who said, this is absolutely happening. This is totally illegal. They are stealing your house. We're going to do everything we can. I think they made a phone call and then they wrote the cease and desist or whatever the heck it was. Stop harassing her. And they were very, very helpful and very, very kind. They were mortified that this was happening to me, and they said, this is happening to other people too. This is the big scam. And that's what happened back then when all the property values bloomed up. There was a big housing bubble and then it all popped, and then all the mortgage companies had to get bailed out and everything. It was because of this kind of behavior. So if anybody is going through something similar to this, make sure you understand the Attorney General is there to help you. Your state's Attorney General is there to help you. And they will help you. That's their job. They can't be a free lawyer for you through a whole trial, but they can give you guidance. They can write a letter. They can get the harassment to stop. So just know that every state has an Attorney General. All right. So there's what happened to me. It's quite shocking to see what that property is worth now. And it's pretty obvious if you drive down the street what house sticks out like a sore thumb. The McMansion. And then there's like another one further down the street. Same thing. It was a nice little neighborhood. This is a nice neighborhood too. At the end of my cul-de-sac, I live on a cul-de-sac. A dead end. It's true, I'm a dead end girl. At the end of my cul-de-sac, there's Wood Lake Nature Center. And in the mornings, I often get to see deer, coyotes, foxes, all sorts of animals, eagles, hawks, turkeys. So I love living here. This house is a lot bigger than my old house was. But for the record, they stole that house from me. And the insurance company knew exactly what they were doing by writing a dual check, knowing neither of us were going to be able to cash it. Big old scam happened back then. And it's interesting how it's like my purchase of the house for $100,000 isn't even showing up there. Like my time owning that house, when I Googled it, scammers. All right, a realtor might mean something, a mortgage broker, something like that. All right, final message. What's the final message? What's the final message? Final message. Courage. Archangel Ariel, be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. All right. So, yeah, my baby daddy bought this house in his own name. And then, before my dad died, my dad got all of his, all of his affairs in order. My dad got all of his finances in order for everybody. My dad knew he was going to die. And he sat down with my daughter's father and said, Molly has to be on the mortgage. Right now, there are lower mortgage rates. You should probably refinance the house. And Mike did. And I'm on the mortgage now. We went to the closing. I signed it. So this house is my house too. And we've lived here for 15 years, something like that now. And now, yeah, our relationship just dissolved. the truth came out. He's been a liar for a very long time to me. But I have a house. I have half of this house is mine. And this house that I'm in, when we bought it, I googled the the value of the house recently. We have like $150,000 in equity. Sounds like a windfall, doesn't it? Not really, though. Because all the other houses went up in value, too. So if I say, oh, I'm just going to sell this, take my half of the profits, go live an easy life in my new house. No, my new house is even more expensive. That's why I'm stuck. All right, there's a message. If you need help, call your attorney.